The Boston ritual slaying of the Marathonian Bull. So if you saw my first post that I made on April 15th about the bombings, then you'll know basically what I'm talking about. But now I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about, and I'm going to blow your mind. And you won't find this esoteric wisdom anywhere else. So to the average people, or the sheeple, they assumed that this was just some random event, a terrorist attack, like the Illuminati tells them it was, so they believe it. They think that some lone gunman just happened to set off a bomb that day, which is nowhere near the truth. The Illuminati always uses the lone gunman excuse, the patsy, like Lee Harvey Oswald, for example, or Osama bin Laden. And of course, they even brought the association of JFK into this attack. So the Illuminati want to keep your eyes off of the truth and focused on lies and bullshit. They don't want you to start thinking and doing research and discovering the truth. They just want you to focus on what they tell you is the truth. So they want you to think that some random lone gunman, a terrorist, is to blame, so that you don't blame the real person who is to blame, which is them. April marks the month of the Fool, which is why on April 1st, for example, it's Fool's Day, because April is all about the fool who's about to begin and go on his journey. He is the traveling fool. And if you've watched my videos in the past, you know who this character represents in nature. He is the Jacob, the Jack, the Joker, the Jester, the Lord of Misrule, the Trickster, the Court Jester. So April marks the end of the old tax season and goes into the new tax season. And of course, we are the fools who actually pay our taxes. And of course, that's why Uncle Sam represents the fool character, the jester or the Jack. So you see, that's why Jack on the Titanic film is the traveling fool. He is the Jack, the jester. Of course, the Titanic sinks at the parting of midnight into the 13th hour. Thus, the symbolic representation of going from the old to the new. And of course, the Titanic sunk on April 15th, the very day our taxes are due. And then shortly after, they established the Federal Reserve in 1913. When the Titanic was sinking or parting into the sea, they were shooting the flares or the fireworks into the air. So the fireworks or the flares are exactly like a bomb. They both explode, because for the Illuminati, it's always about the explosion, exactly like Hollywood movies and films. And of course, real life. Thus, the light or the Lucifer. So we celebrate with parties because a party is a parting from the old to the new, which is why we celebrate with the explosion or the fireworks. Which is why they tell you the universe and all life began with a big bang, which is actually the big bang of the sexual orgasm, which of course is the big bang that creates all life. When the two come together as one, then we celebrate the union or the one completion of 1 year, for example. So this is why we get dressed up as the characters of nature, the red and the blue, the twins that battle and fight one another. And this is exactly why on New Year's Eve, or even on your birthday, you dress up as the Joker or the Jester, the Jack, the Clown. And the symbolism of the parting from the old to the new or the division or the divide can be found all throughout the Bible. So this is why they tell you that the Titanic split in two. It was divided in two. It was split and cut and sliced and diced, like the annual year is, between the positive and the negative forces. Therefore, it cuts and slices down the mid-L, the parallel, the equal. Now, of course, this is why we saw so many L-evens or 11s during September 11th. And the buildings themselves represent the L-even, the 11, the division, or the Star of David, the Star of Divide. And of course, they have come together as one with the New World One Trade Center. So as we watched the explosions on September 11th, it was really a ritual celebration of the annual celebration of the very day that they were founded. Because the World Trade Center, where it sits in Manhattan, was discovered, as I exposed, on September 11th by Henry Hudson in 1609 on September 11th. Remember the staged Illuminati massacre at the movie theaters for The Dark Knight Rises, where the patsy, James Holmes, had explosions or gas bombs? And remember the reference to 9/11, the 119 that they just had to throw in our face? Now, we have proof of bombs being set off during 9/11 or September 11th on videotape from eyewitnesses, and of course from the pyroclastic flows that were flowing on September 11th, thus caused by explosions. So September 11th is known as 9/11 or 9/11, but actually sept means 7. So 9/11 is actually 7/11, which of course makes you think of Arabs. And the 7/11 is also found in the very symbolism and foundation of what the World Trade Center represents. The twin pillars and the 7, the Solomon building. Thus 7/11, like King Solomon and his twin pillars. Now you've seen this 7/11 or the 117 many times and didn't even know it. The Star of David or the Jewish flag of Israel shows you the 7-pointed star in the center. Yes, 7 points, because the 6 or the sexagram has the center or the 7th point, the G. Thus the Freemasonic G in the center of the sexagram. So for a while now I've been telling people about the 7/11 and the 117 and how these numbers appear to me all the time in real life. And I've shown this several times in my videos I was making, to even my scooter actually stopping on and not running. It's still stuck on there to this very day on the numbers 7/11. Which brings me to the Boston Marathon bomb attacks on the 117th Boston Marathon, the 117. And of course this staged Illuminati event fulfilled its purpose in scaring the sheeple and causing chaos. Now there were also 2 attacks or bi-attacks. Now take notice that in order to start the race, there must be an explosion from the gun, the fire, the big bang. So a race is a microcosm game of the macrocosm of reality, the time, the season, life. And of course, it takes its name from the ancient Greek runner or jogger who died at the very last end of the race, just after he declared victory. Now, of course, Boston is known throughout history for its place of revolution, for the taxes during the Tea Party raid of the Boston Tea Party. Thus, it's Patriots' Day or a Riots' that day. Now, if you understand what the very word taxed means, it means to be killed or taken out, as in, I taxed his ass. Okay, this brings me to the revolutionary times in the 1700s. From 1767, we find this poster, "The Colonies Reduced." What we find is the goddess Britannia. Okay, she is, if you look, she's chopped into pieces. Her limbs have been severed. And as you know, in my past documentaries, I've been exposing this cutting of the limbs, the lamed god, all the ancient gods that were sliced and diced into pieces, from Osiris to Dionysus to Baal, or like Saturn, whatever. Now, think about the patriotism and taxes and Britannia here with her limbs chopped off.
Hospitals around inner-city Boston have been inundated with the injured, many in a critical condition. It's understood several people lost limbs in the blasts.
So now you know why you keep hearing that over and over again, because they want you to understand the symbolism. Now, in the past, I already did a video about the Boston Tea Party, the Freemasons, and what it really represents. But here's another poster that they also used during the time, and it was "Join or Die."
This year's run had been dedicated to the victims of the Newtown massacre.
So the marathon race was dedicated to Newtown, the Newtown massacre at Sandy Hook, which of course was another staged Illuminati event. So the marathon was dedicated to Sandy Hook, and the 26th mile, the last mile, was dedicated to them. That's why they had 26 seconds of silence before the race started. They had 26 stars, 26 flags, and of course 26 miles. So you see how the Illuminati is obsessed with numerology and repeating numbers over and over again. So anyway, when you hear them talking about limbs being severed or limbs being cut off and blown off, believe me, there's much more to it than meets the eye.
Reports of people coming in with severed limbs, severe injuries from the scene, including severed limbs.
My boyfriend saw somebody with a limb off, like cut into like their legs. It was very gruesome. You know, I saw a handful of people that had, I mean, it looked severe to me, but their limbs, their legs were dragging. People were trying to drag people, and their legs weren't connected well, or even some of them had been blown off, like their feet.
So get this, folks, just like all of the other Illuminati staged events, once again, they have the excuse that the Boston Bomb Squad was actually holding a controlled explosion or bomb drill that very same day in the very same area where the marathon was being held by the finish line.
We are getting reports now of another explosion in Boston, but this was from the people who are monitoring the police scanners report that this is a police-controlled explosion near Ground Zero. So anyone who might have heard of another explosion, that is a police-controlled explosion near Ground Zero. We don't know what they were exploding, but we do know it happened just moments ago.
And by Ground Zero, you
near the finish line.
The site of this finish line. Yes.
This is a police-controlled explosion near Ground Zero. So anyone who might have heard of another explosion, that is a police-controlled explosion.
So, folks, there you go, straight from the horse's mouth. They're admitting that they purposely planned and organized to set up a bomb drill on April 15th during the Boston Marathon race. At the end of the race, the very finish line of the race, they purposely set up and organized and planned to detonate a bomb and scare the people. So the bombing attacks were not a surprise attack from some crazy terrorists. Like I said it in the very beginning, they have now admitted that they are the ones who were planning to set off a bomb that day. And wow, wouldn't you believe it? A bomb went off that day. So they're trying to act so innocent and hide behind the fake mask of lies, but they have been exposed.